was worried because he was hungry. No flies, no bees, no butterflies had been near his web in days, and weeks and months, and the web was all worn to pieces, and he couldn't get hold of much more silk to make many repairs. He was worried too because his hundreds of children were hungry, and they kept saying, "Dad, Dad, what's for dinner?" And he had to say, "I don't know, I've got no idea, I'm not the foggiest." But most of all, he was worried because his wife was hungry. And Mrs. Spider was a good bit bigger than her husband. And when she started to get hungry, she started to look at him and think, "Might be good eating on you, mate." So in the end he said, "Look, it's nothing, I'm just going to have to get religion, I'm off to church." So he went into the church well before the morning service started, and climbed up at the stained glass window to the picture of the Good Shepherd carrying a lamb in his arms, and began to spin a web there for the last of his silk. And the vicar came in and said, "Spider, what are you doing in the house of God?" And Spider said, "Well, I can't help it, mate. I've got to live, same as everyone else. But my family have always been hunters, right back to the first Spider." And the priest said, "Oh, Spider, you don't have to do something wrong just because your family have always done it. I mean, look at Mrs. Hennypenny. Her ancestors were velociraptors, she's mended her ways, she's willing to live on corn and wheat." Spider, "Yeah, right," because he knew Mrs. Hennypenny liked to tell her friends she was a vegetarian, but he knew that she ate worms and slugs when nobody was looking. He couldn't help suspecting that she'd eat spiders too, given half the chance. But he knew there was no good trying to tell this to a vicar who wanted to be the next Francis of Assisi. He used to preach to the birds and the bees, and when the dolphins in the bay were quarrelling, he'd go down and remonstrate with them, even if he was preaching at cross purposes. But Spider just sighed and said, "All right, Father, you've shown me the error of my ways. Look, you see this web here? It's real silk, it's expensive stuff, but it's the last silk I had. But right, I'll roll it up into a sticky ball, chuck it in the bin, and just have to find another way of living." And so he trudged home, and wondered what he was going to do now he'd got no food and no silk left. When he got home, at least the place was a bit quieter because his wife had taken all the children to play on the climbing frames and the swings in the park. So at least the place was a bit quieter. He looked in the larder, completely Mother Hubbardly. Got the tail end of a bottle of red wine, a couple of tins of tomatoes, a jar of olives, rather withered-looking lemon, and a few cloves of garlic, and that was just all there was there. And tail end of a bottle of olive oil as well. And wandered out again, trying to decide what on earth to do. She noticed that some workmen had been digging a hole in the road, but he'd probably going to lay a new drain or something, but obviously they quit because it was Sunday. So it was just this hole in the road. Spider thought, maybe I could do something about this. So went back to his house and fetched out all the bits and pieces, and the saucepan and camping gas cylinder. It was very strong for his size, the way small animals generally are. Same as ants can carry caterpillars 100 times their own weight. So small but strong, carried this lot and down to the hole in the road, and lit the camping gas cylinder, put the pan on top, poured the last of the olive oil in, the garlic, fried it about for a bit until it was nice and golden, sloshed in the tomatoes and to the wine and the olives. Until then, when it was all simmering nicely, he climbed up a lamppost just over the hole and hung down so that the steam rising from the pan started to mist his body all over, mist his hairy black body with little bubbles of water vapour. And then he got up on top of the lamppost and started dancing about, turning cartwheels on all 8 legs, singing all the songs he could remember and a few he couldn't quite remember. I danced in the morning when the world had just begun, and I polished up that handle till it shone like the sun, and I danced so well that they rewarded me by making me the ruler of the Queen's Navy. And as he was dancing about, he saw Mrs. Hennypenny coming home from church. She said, "Oh, hello, Spider. I didn't fancy you being up and about at this hour. I didn't see you in church." And Spider said, "Well, no, my arthritis was playing up this morning, and believe me, that's no joke when you've got 8 legs and 4 joints in each of them. But I'm feeling much better now. You see, it's all thanks to my brother and oh no, shouldn't say that." And Mrs. Hennypenny said, "Go on, I'm interested." And Spider said, "No, really can't tell you. I mean, well, I suppose it's not that dangerous telling you, seeing as you're a vegetarian. But if you went round blabbing this to the blackbirds and the thrushes, and some of those robins, and so they'd be after me, because now they'd be all fleet, and they'd have wings as well, so they'd have the advantage of me." Mrs. Hennypenny says, "They'd have the advantage of you." And Spider said, "Well, they'd be able to catch me, wouldn't they?" And Mrs. Hennypenny says, "I don't understand. Why would they be able to catch you? What are you talking about?" Spider says, "Oh, well, all right. Look, this isn't to go any further. This is just between you and me, right? And, well, to tell you the truth, my brother-in-law, he's a water spider. When he heard I'd got all these aches and pains, he said, 'What you need is a sauna bath.' He mixed up this little bath down there. So you see that? All I had to do was get in it, relax, stretch out. And, all the warmth just eased all my aches and pains away. I feel like I've been born again. Hennypenny thought about that. Yes, looks interesting. Wouldn't mind letting me have a go, would you? Just to help, just to make sure this doesn't go any further." Spider says, "Oh no, not sure it's work for you anyway, because you being a bird and all. I reckon this is probably just for spiders." Mrs. Hennypenny says, "Oh, well, surely it can do no harm." And Spider says, "Well, all right. Sure you want to try it?" Mrs. Hennypenny says, "Oh yes, please. Let me have a go." So Spider climbed down to took the lid off the saucepan. Mrs. Hennypenny climbed in, and Spider slammed the lid on top, and that evening Spider and his wife and children had chicken casserole. But from that day on, birds have been eating spiders at every chance they get, because they haven't forgotten what the spider did to Mrs. Hennypenny. But in some parts of the world, there are giant spiders who eat birds, because they haven't forgotten either. Originally that's a West African story, but being very white, I decided to write a European version.
Thank you very much.